All right, so I would like to talk about determinism today. Whether we have the choice of free will or that there is some sort of outer worldly forces sort of controlling our actions. And my answer to that question, it's I have to give a pretty vague implication towards it because I can't really say it for myself. I know that there comes a lot of times, like such as making this video right now, if I kind of garble my words or screw up something, I will seemingly, in my own mind, end the video and redo it over again. But the question would be, is that me acting within my own free will, or is that some sort of predetermined course that I am supposed to take? And I've noticed throughout the years that things do seem, in my experience, to heavily work on determinism. I don't objectively believe in the idea of a free will. I do think overall that we have influence over our actions. We have thoughts, but what we do is not necessarily in our control. I think we do have some leverage with our faculties, to say the least, to motivate what we do. Not necessarily walk up to some jerry rigged machine, some wily coyote contraption, and pull a lever. I'm not quite too sure of that. And I can explain this in two occasions where I've felt that we are more or less, the way I see it is like when you're playing The Sims, you click on the sim and you tell the sim to go over there. So that's somewhat how I feel, as if there is some big invisible hand hovering over us, clicks on us, and tells us where to go. Even though, like, if you notice the Sims, their moods and their behaviors can kind of counteract it, and you can tell the Sim to go to the fridge and eat a can of beans. And sometimes if the Sim is too full, he'll just open the fridge, kind of look at it, and then close it again. So there's influence within ourselves, and then maybe an outer worldly influence that's kind of pulling the strings. So my experience with this was probably when I was probably 17 or 18. I had done mushrooms. It was probably my fourth or fifth time doing mushrooms, and I don't know what happened. I guess we must have smoked some bad fucking pot or something. And I had this weird trip that was sort of like a, I think it's called an ego loss, but I can't be sure. But basically, it's just like all the shapes and people around me and words and the walls and everything I was enclosed in, even faces, I couldn't register them. They were just these odd shapes to me. And when they'd speak, I would, in somewhere in my subconscious mind, I would understand what they're saying, but out here in sort of the exterior world, it's just like there's no communication. This is all alien language to me. All these objects and everything I'm seeing around me is completely fucking alien. I don't know what's going on, but back here in my mind, it's like kind of recording it and being like sort of automated, which is weird. So it's just like they'd say they'd go and went downstairs when my friends went downstairs and grabbed a bowl of cereal and like he started eating it and I'm just kind of looking at it like I don't know what that is. What is this artifact? I've never seen it before. I know it sounds goofy, but at the same time there was some sort of recognition there, and this would kind of play into maybe Plato's idea of the forms, where we kind of have like a semblance of something, but we're not necessarily registering it. Um, so that was a pretty bad experience. And, every time I smoke pot now, I get like very, very paranoid, unless it's, I think unless if it's like a good strain or something, then I might get relaxed. But most of the time, I just lose my mind. I used to enjoy very much smoking pot before that one bad trip. Ever since then, it's just been no. No, I do not enjoy smoking pot. I still do enjoy mushrooms and psychedelics, and I still do experience bad trips from time to time. But never will I smoke pot and do any form of psychedelic ever again because of that one experience. But it was strange. Like I said, that experience. Like when I was sitting in the room, we started playing Tekken. I think Tekken on like the PlayStation, and like it's like yeah, I could register the shapes in some sense, some sort of semblance, but I didn't really know what was going on. And they handed me the controller, and I'm pressing the button to punch and kick and do this and that, but I'm like somewhere in here, I'm just like not knowing what the fuck is going on. But everything is completely automated, like something is kind of working me like a puppet. So that was the first experience where I've realized that there is some sense of determinism. I think that we are subconsciously controlled, at least that we subconsciously do things more or less than the internal thoughts we harvest having any outcome whatsoever. I think these in here are mostly just influence. So there was that experience. And throughout the years, I've been able to sort of trigger this flashback of that experience in my mind. And sometimes I do it when I'm having panic attacks, or not panic attacks, but when I have anxiety or something, I'll trigger it. And the reason being is because it kind of makes me really look around and ask what's going on, because it's very, very obscure to me still, just the way life works and how we identify objects, speech patterns, even the sky, so to say. But there was that experience, and I've been kind of toying around with it sometimes. So, like, if I'm at my job or something, I'm doing something really complicated, and it's really easy for me to trigger this flashback. So, like, I'm doing complicated things that have stuff to do with words, and you're performing these actions that apparently take thought, that apparently take consideration and practice. Now, here I am in this weird zone, we'll call it just like the spaghetti sphere, the spaghetti zone or something like that, and I'm just moving around and I'm not recognizing anything. I'm in fucking La La Land up here, but I'm performing all my tasks and all my duties because it's almost like some sort of subconscious form is doing it. Sort of like with The Sims. They press the button, you do this, you do that, pull this lever, press that button. Yeah, I think we are, to a greater extent, controlled by the subconscious. I think that's really what does it, is the subconscious is mostly in control of our actions. And up here, it's just influence. The thoughts influence our actions, not so much make use of the muscles in our arms and fingers and to do and perform these tasks. And another example, I know I'm going on really long here, was I spent like 2 months on a bender of doing nothing but DXM. And I had another experience of, we'll say, episode of determinism where I don't even want to go into detail, but it literally was my body and my mind and the things that were coming out of my mouth were almost being inputted through me by like some sort of alien force or like some sort of demonic possession. Imagine Linda Blair from The Exorcist. Even though my head wasn't spinning and I wasn't puking on a priest or anything, I was kind of off the wall, and I did I did go a little above. But this one moment was where I realized that something else is out there entirely in control of us, because I was doing things that I was not telling my body to do. It was like I was crawling around, and then I went up to an oven in the kitchen and I started speaking to it. And then I went out to the windows and started staring outside, and I went on this really weird monologue. I don't know where it came from, but it wasn't coming from me. It was sort of, maybe imagine like Tyler Durden resting somewhere in the back of your head. And he's just in there, he's just pulling at one of your fucking brain lobes or something like that. And he's saying, you're going to say this, you're going to do that, and you're going to say this. So these experiences I've had really tell me that a lot of it is not controlled by our own free will. I think we do have an idea of free will, and I think the free will is mainly our thoughts, and our thoughts really take a lot of effort to produce the outcome of what we do. I think most of it is like controlled subconsciously, such as like, I'm hungry right now. You know, I want to go eat a pizza or something. So it's just like, that is the subconscious in me speaking, maybe from somewhere very early on in the day, just like maybe 2 hours ago, and it didn't hit me until now that I'm starting to be like, oh yeah, I want a pizza, you know. I don't know, man. If you experiment with enough drugs, which I don't advise, or if you're outgoing and adventurous, then by all means do it. I mean, I don't advocate it. I personally stay away from it for the most part. But, you know, people who are looking to open up new avenues in their mind and experiment with things, if they're not afraid to, I think if you're willing to divulge into that sort of territory and want to see something that might freak you out or might give you a little bit more belief or hope, then yeah, you can experiment with these drugs. They've had phenomenal effects on people, and even psilocybin is, you know, said to be able to treat things such as alcoholism. You know, and people are just so fucking afraid of mushrooms because it's like, ooh, you might see a scary ghost. Boo hoo hoo, you might see some spirits. They're so bad. It's just like, no, motherfucker. If this is gonna treat things like alcohol, which is like, alcohol kills more people than fucking psilocybin if you haven't done your homework. Alcohol kills 10 times more fucking people than fucking psilocybin does. So don't give me any fucking horse shit, any preachy weechy fucking choir singing, because I know that is one of the #1 killers in fucking America. You wanted to be put in an early grave? Yeah, get introduced to fucking alcohol. I know plenty of alcoholics, and they're all going to end up in early graves if they don't fucking take good care of themselves. Yeah, it's important. That and automobile accidents. You sit there and I don't know, a couple kids eat some fucking psychedelics and some peyote maybe, and they bark at the fucking moon one night. Oh God, heaven for fucking bid. What's the big fucking deal? I don't know, man. It's just like they're just kids being kids. They're experimenting. You know, this boring fucking world, which can seem incredibly fucking mundane sometimes, needs a little salt and spice, you know, added to it. But, you know, some people are just, they're so backwoods and sheltered on their fucking, I don't know if it's ideology or if it's just their value systems. It's just like, honestly, if you don't want to do psychedelics, then don't fucking do them. But if other people want to do them, then please, by all means, allow it. What's the big fucking deal? Legalize all drugs. You know, you don't stop a heroin addict from being a heroin addict by locking them away. You're just going to make their symptoms even worse. I know this. I know this because I've seen plenty of heroin addicts. I've had friends who are heroin addicts. That's the term. Were heroin addicts. And you know what? Locking them up never did a fucking thing for them. Locking them up never did a fucking thing for them. People need to get over this overzealous fucking view of the war on drugs. Now, I don't advocate drugs, but I know that making it illegal is just going to make people want to do it even more. And it's not going to help their problems. It's going to make them worse. So, you know, if there's maybe one thing crazy AOC may be precisely talking about, I think at one point she was talking about maybe the legalization of psilocybin. But other than that, man, I don't know about her. I really don't. I think she's just a pretty lady, and that appeals to a lot of people. More power to her. But that is maybe one issue I would agree with her on. And from here on out, you know, maybe we could work a little bit better on ending this fucking ridiculous fucking war that is helping absolutely nobody. Not a single goddamn person. And this is not the promotion or even me advocating drugs. I try to stay away from drugs as much as possible. Yeah. Recreational drugs are a thing, okay? That's as much as I can say. They're a thing, and it's just naughty, and we slap this naughty label to it, so no one wants to do it. So everyone views it as this big, naughty, scary fucking monster, you know? And this is just legislative horse shit. I can't go on anymore. This has been dragging on to like a 15-minute video. But yeah, above all, the prohibition of alcohol, you know, they may have had a good reason to prohibit it. Because it's fucking dangerous. It kills people in car accidents all the time, if you haven't noticed. All the fucking time. People are dying of cirrhosis of the fucking liver, if I even said that right. You know? Fucking alcohol poisoning. Fucking wet brains. Getting drunk in the jacuzzi and fucking passing out. Who was that? Fucking Rodney King? Died in a fucking, I don't know, I think he drowned himself or something, poor guy. But, yeah, fucking the war on drugs is stupid.